What if you decided to try a new format for your podcast and it was ass?
Can't. I'm Bethany.
I am still Connor.
And this is Wonder With Us.
It is still a podcast. It is still our normal format.
Yay.
Complete disclosure. We just recorded this episode trying a new format.
And spent 76 minutes of garbage.
As the intro may have suggested, it was ass.
It was certainly unlistenable.
Bear with us, because it's an hour and a half past both of our bedtimes, and we're going to burn the fuck through this so that you have an episode this week.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get into episode 26, Execution.
It first aired April 1st, 1960. It was directed by David Orrick McDermott. He has 18 directing credits, 7 episodes of The Twilight Zone.
Not unimpressive.
David Orrick McDermott was a director and producer known for his work in television in the late 50s and early 60s. He has worked on so many multiple episodes of The Twilight Zone, as well as other popular TV shows of the era, including Wagon Train, Playhouse 90. I don't know what Playhouse 90 is.
Never heard of either of those.
But I've heard of Wagon Train, but not Playhouse 90.
I've heard of A Wagon Train.
Interesting. But his work on The Twilight Zone was characterized by its tight pacing and atmospheric tension.
Which can be seen and a half in this episode.
And felt. Oddly enough. His career in television. He directed a range of TV shows across different genres, though he is best remembered for his contributions to The Twilight Zone, of course. His style helped bring Serling's scripts to life, ensuring the episodes remained gripping for the audiences.
Nailed it.
Mm-hmm. He's also behind some more memorable episodes, as previously mentioned, making his mark on the anthology series with his ability to blend eerie mood setting and precise storytelling.
Written by Rod Serling, Brain Daddy. Known for... What is Rod Serling known for? As always, he was the mastermind behind the majority of the Twilight Zone scripts. He had help. For Execution, Serling adapted a story by George Clayton Johnson. It was unpublished and allegedly written exclusively for Serling for this episode. He was a prominent science fiction writer known for his contributions to the Twilight Zone, as well as the original Ocean's 11 and Logan's Run. George Clayton Johnson's original story, Execution, was the basis for this. Boy howdy, already said that. Moving on.
The film editor was Bill Mosher, as always.
Bill's back.
And special effects by William Tuttle. We've heard about him before.
Oh God, Tuttle's back too.
Connor, tell me what IMDb says.
IMDb says a criminal from Old West is brought into the future via a time machine, only to find that his outlaw ways don't quite fit into the new world.
I really like how your voice just kind of slumped into that.
Just kind of fell into the fry.
It is very good.
Audience, you should know I've recently been recording an audiobook.
Oh no.
And I chose this voice for one of the characters. And now I can't get it out of my head. I want to live in this voice.
So this is Connor for the rest of the episode. You're welcome.
Slide fry, slide deep, slightly deeper. Words is hard.
All right. You can just pitch in whenever you want, darling. I'm going to get into the cast. Albert Salmi was a talented character actor, known for his work in both film and television. He actually started on the stage before moving to TV, as many of them did, and that is markedly seen in his facial expressions and the over-exaggeration that many stage actors brought to film.
Put some lipstick and eyeliner on this dude, you'd be able to see him from the top of the Empire State Building looking surprised.
Which is amazing. But his more notable roles included appearances in The Unforgiven 1960, Caddyshack
The
1980.
world's best groundhog. Gopher?
Do you know Caddyshack?
Yeah, of course I know Caddyshack.
I don't know Caddyshack. And Dragnet, 1954.
I recently heard that is an excellent show.
Yeah.
Dragnet.
Somebody also mentioned MASH.
MASH is fantastic. I've seen every episode of MASH too. Do you want to do a MASH podcast?
Maybe. He was a frequent guest star on various TV shows, including Twilight Zone, Bonanza, and Perry Mason. Any of those sound familiar?
Nope, never heard of any of them.
Oh, his role as Joe Caswell in Execution is one of his more memorable performances. He portrayed a hardened criminal thrust into a future that he cannot understand. And he does that so well.
Amazingly well. Next, we have Russell Johnson, who played Professor Mannion.
Mannion. French.
Had 97 acting credits to his name. Johnson is best remembered for his role as the professor on Gilligan's Island. Have you watched that yet?
No.
But he also had a notable career in science fiction, including 2 appearances on The Twilight Zone. Aside from Execution, he also appeared in Back There, as the listeners will not know because they didn't listen to the horse apples we just spent an hour and a half recording, is another episode of The Twilight Zone involving time travel.
That we'll get to in what, season 2?
Season 2, episode 13.
Excellent.
It features Abraham Lincoln.
Hey, that's cool.
Though Johnson will forever be linked to Gilligan's Island because, let's be honest, he was the professor.
I wish I knew what that meant.
Do you want to do a Gilligan's Island podcast?
No.
His career before the show was full of serious roles in westerns and science fiction, which is very much not.
This.
I was going to say is not the professor on Gilligan's Island. There's very little serious there. His appearance as Professor Magnon in Execution showed his versatility beyond the comedic role that was the professor.
That the way you just said his name sounded like you hit an insert button for pronunciation. That made me very happy. Than Nguyen portrayed the criminal slash thief, Paul Johnson. He had
To be fair, we don't know that he was a thief. We didn't actually see him steal anything.
No, but he was in the process of thievery.
Ooh, he's a murderer.
Yeah. Bad guy, Paul Johnson.
Overall bad guy, Paul Johnson.
Mm-hmm. He, Than Nguyen, the actor, had 137 credits to his acting career, which is oddly the same number as Albert Salmi.
I'm sure no fact-checking needs to occur here.
No, not at all.
Hey, did I mention we just spent an hour and a half doing this? It was complete ass.
It was really bad, guys.
Guys, when I say it was ass, I mean like not a good ass, not an ass you want to look at, but like a donkey. Like a literal short fat horse.
I mean, we could summarize it by saying that it was entirely unlistenable. So much so that we could not listen to ourselves talk about it anymore.
No, but if you want to join us on Patreon, I will release the full unedited episode.
It's so bad. You don't want that in your life. But I mean, Patreon's cool.
I'm just saying we have a Patreon account.
Do we?
Yeah, but we don't have any tiers like rewards on it, so we can't do anything.
Oh,
so I'm saying right now, if you subscribe on Patreon for any amount of money,
2 cents.
I think
Give us your 2 cents.
I think their minimum is $1, so let's go with $1.
All right.
If you subscribe on Patreon for $1,
Give us your 100 cents.
give us your 100 cents. I will release the not entirely unedited because I don't hate myself that much, but mostly I will release the entirety of what would have been that episode. And guys, I don't know if I've mentioned this. It was ass. What am I looking up?
Than Nguyen acting credits.
Than Nguyen.
Because we threw these notes together so fast.
Guys, you don't understand. You will understand if you subscribe, but as of right now, you don't understand. IMDb, tell me about Than Nguyen. Oh boy, howdy. Reddit's 161.
Hey, they were shortchanging him. 161 credits.
Thanks for sticking around through that, guys.
Yeah. He was also a character actor who worked steadily in television and film for decades. That's not big. Don't mind us critiquing our notes in real time. It's okay. His roles ranged from doctors to judges to storekeepers to businessmen and oh my, everything in between. He made guest appearances on shows like The Twilight Zone, Perry Mason, and The Untouchables.
Another Perry Mason and another Untouchables.
Another one?
We had an Untouchables an episode or two back.
Oh, yeah.
I remember because I have no fucking idea what it is.
We talked about that previously.
Yeah, and I was going to look it up, and then I didn't because I was sleepy.
So the vague decades previously mentioned, Wen's career spanned 5 of those 5 decades.
5 vague decades.
And in all of those 5 decades, he rarely took on lead roles. His face became familiar, but not well known, even though he had numerous supporting roles.
Next, we have John Lormer. He was the minister. You know why I'm going to talk about him? Me neither. He had 185 credits to his name. He was another prolific character actor known for his roles in Star Trek, Twilight Zone, and once again, Perry Mason. We may have to add that one to the list.
I thought we were going to stop using the word prolific.
We did say we were going to, but there it is right there on my page. Prolific character actor. Guys, you don't understand. It was ass. He often was cast as authoritative figures such as judge or doctors or military officers.
Or ministers.
In this case, he was a minister. He was reading something to a guy who was going to be hanged. It was very important.
And the guy didn't want to hear it.
He didn't want to hear it. Interesting tidbit, because we haven't said that yet. Lormer's ability to seamlessly step into various roles made him a reliable actor for television, which I would argue makes most reliable actors reliable actors. His multiple appearances on The Twilight Zone helped define some of the more nuanced background characters in the series.
That
and
is
you know
such
what?
a polite way of saying he's an extra. Can you,
Damn.
right?
You just came out and said that shit. Like we're being polite and hinting at it, but you're just like hey,
No, but it's super
all of his
polite.
characters are called a profession instead of a name, and he really added to the nuance of the
Which is Hollywood
extras
bullshit
cast.
he's an amazing extra.
Hey, a career's a career. He's not driving a garbage truck.
I'm so glad you know about him now.
Me too. I'm glad that you know about him. I'm glad that I know about him. I'm glad that he lives rent-free in my brain now. Like, he owns space there that could have been used for literally fucking anything else. Guys, it was such ass.
Like, yeah, literally anyone else.
Let's hit an episode overview. Now, we have done this 4 times tonight, so we're going to do it one more time. The episode opens on an Old West town, 1880s to be specific, in an unnamed desert with a single tree in the middle of fuck all nowhere. There's a man being hanged. Rod refers to it as a necktie party.
I like
which
that.
I have to assume was because he didn't know it was what it was actually called. Because necktie party doesn't really roll off the tongue well.
But it is nice.
But it is interesting to say the least. We see our boy Caswell, thank you, being read his rights. They're explaining that he's a murderer, he's cold-blooded, and there ain't no place in heaven for a man like you.
And he's staring straight ahead, unrepentant,
This
devil-may-care
man
attitude.
does not give a shit. He really just wants them to hurry up and hang him.
He's ready to be done.
So they oblige him. When they do so, they drops off the horse just in time to disappear.
Poof. Out of the screen.
Out of the screen. There's the
It's quickest of flashes. So we see the noose being put around his neck. The horse moves. He bamfs. And before, as that's happening, rather, we switch to a laboratory-esque / office space where we meet Professor Manuel.
Manuel.
And his very prominent, not at all inconspicuous time machine.
You guys have to understand, we say lab because they said lab, but the fact of the matter is this was an office space with a couch and a desk, some flashing lights, and a fucking time machine.
In the center of the room.
And that was the entirety of this laboratory. So to call it a laboratory is
Laughable.
ridiculous. But he's got a time machine and I don't, so who the fuck am I to judge? Our boy shows up. The doctor is obviously messing with the time machine, because how else do you make a time machine do time machine things than by pushing the boops and making the beeps pop? He does so, and this man appears in it. We have a very interesting exchange between the two of them where Professor Malval decides he's going to explain to Caswell why it is that it's okay that he's been teleported to 1960 New York from 1880 who the fuck cares desert.
In this very beautiful salesman-esque way where he's clearly having a manic episode.
The man, like, it is... Professor Magnon's manic episodes should be its own merch line, because this man literally seems to be trying to sell a time machine to a outlaw he just sent math forward in time.
I like math forward. Can I use that?
Yes, please do.
Okay.
Into a walking, like, living overstimulation.
Yeah. Sensory overload at its finest.
At its peak. While he's trying to explain to this man the glories of a time machine. Caswell's not interested.
No, he's freaking out.
He's freaking out.
Because he was just dying. He has rope burn still around his neck.
Yeah, he has rope burns around his neck. Yeah, there's a moment where Manuel pulls out his tape recorder and records a nice little bit of conversation with himself about how he's not sure he did the right thing because he thinks this guy might be a ne'er-do-well.
Oh, you mean he's having a moral quandary in this episode?
He's having a moral quandary in an episode of The Twilight Zone. Oh, God.
Okay, let's flash forward to Caswell
murdering him.
Yes. Very quickly, because once a villain, always a villain, or at least so they're exclaiming in this episode.
Yeah, in this case, it's very much a case of is technology enough to change the
character of a man, and the
core character
question,
of a man.
The answer is no.
The answer is no. Certainly in this episode, the answer is no. I reckon somebody in a wheelchair would argue that it can,
Sure.
But in this episode, the answer is definitely no.
Specifically doing. The answer is no.
The answer is no. So Caswell, because criminals, he kills the good doctor.
Questionable good doctor.
Fair enough. I don't think he's actually a doctor. The professor, the scientist, he kills Mel and just leaves.
Yeah.
Because he's got shit to do now. He has to discover what 1960s New York is.
And so we see these flashing scenes of neon lights and cars and beeping horns, and he doesn't understand what's happening.
It's a beautiful shot where I assume he's standing on a treadmill.
Oh, yeah.
And the camera's just kind of rotating around him while they wheel in fluorescent signs and neon signs and billboards that are supposed to look like they're half a mile away but are clearly 2 foot behind the actor to make him look big. It's a really enjoyable shot.
Yeah.
It's not good, but it's very enjoyable.
And because of that, it's probably my favorite bit of this entire episode.
100% my favorite scene from this episode.
The sensory overload that you actually get to experience.
So his acting makes it good. Because without his acting,
again,
it
stage
would
acting.
be god-awful.
Oh, sure.
It wouldn't just be bad. It would be as unwatchable as our last take was unlistenable. Guys, it was ass. However, he's a fantastic actor. Hey, Maverick.
Come here.
What you doing, bud?
Come here.
You're attacking a blanket with your face. And it's real loud.
Lay down.
Don't mind us. We have a dog and a refrigerator in our studio.
And the dog very much enjoys tap dancing.
Yeah, loves him to tap dance. So we get to see sensory overload. We get an interesting-ish... Yeah, no, y'all just going to have to listen to the dog because I ain't doing this again. Sorry. Not sorry. He goes into a bar. He destroys a
jukebox,
a magical music box with a chair.
Because he doesn't understand where the music's coming from, and that makes me so happy.
It's very enjoyable. He tries to pull a gun on the TV.
Yeah.
Because there's a cowboy on the TV.
Doesn't know how he got in there.
Doesn't understand it. And the cowboy on the TV is telling him to draw.
Because, of course, they had to do that.
Of course they had to. It was a fairly creative idea. Bartender is understandably confused.
Yeah.
Did he get a gun from the professor? Because I think he shot the TV.
He did shoot the TV.
He must have found a gun.
That's why I thought he shot the jukebox.
Maybe he did shoot the jukebox.
Yeah, because he put holes in it.
There's a country song about that. This, however, isn't a country song podcast. It's a Twilight Zone podcast. So eventually our boy gets tired of being in 1960s New York and goes back to the only thing he knows.
No, it's like returning to the nest.
Yeah, only in this case, the nest is a crazy doctor, crazy scientists.
Crazy dead doctor.
Crazy dead doctor scientist's office with a time machine in it.
Yep.
When he arrives back, he is not alone because there's a dead body there, but also there's another living person.
Paul Johnson.
This is important. We discussed him a moment ago. Tell us about Paul Johnson.
Paul Johnson was the criminal. He was the other criminal, the modern criminal.
They're all criminals. We only see criminals in a minister, and he's a minister in 1880. He's probably a criminal.
Yeah, that's probably.
This episode should have been called Criminals.
So the modern 1960s criminal, Paul Johnson, is doing, he's rifling through things in this office, and it does appear that he's in fact trying to rob the good professor.
It certainly is implied that maybe he's a thief.
And so they have a brief conversation that very quickly resorts to violence. And in a weird turn of unforeseen irony.
First of all, their fight scene is fantastic.
It's really
it is
good.
right out of a bad Western.
It's so good.
In a modern place.
Without like the what you call it? What's the thing called?
Which that you're pointing at my face. I don't know what
finger guns. The duel. Without the duel.
Yeah, so there's
I
no
couldn't think
duel
of the
and
word.
nobody gets drug across a bar or thrown through a window.
But outside of that,
thrown through a window would have been good because they are on like the 197,000th floor of a skyscraper.
Definitely would have been better, but not as on point.
Fair.
So they have this little tussle.
They have a disagreement, guys.
They
have a constructive argument.
In Caswell being ironically strangled.
Yeah, I mean, it's no noose, but it'll do the trick, I suppose.
I love it so much.
It was very interesting.
I don't recall, though, if it was in fact a cord from a telephone or the cord from the blinds. In either case, some cord of some sort is thrown around his neck.
What I can tell you for certain, it wasn't a rope from a tree.
And he's strangled until dead.
Unfortunate for him, but really, he had like 6 more hours of life than he should have.
Pretty much, yeah.
Or a math number of years more life than he should have, if you want to get technical about it.
Yeah, that's diving way too deep for what time we have left.
Yeah, that's fair. So our criminal, Ron Paul?
Mm-hmm.
Paul
Johnson.
Paul Johnson. Probably not Ron Paul, now that I've said that out loud. Woof.
He goes over to the time machine and does what all good people at a time machine do, hit the buttons with that beep and boop.
He was looking for the safe, and obviously, if you have a time machine with the beeps and boops and bops, you probably keep your safe full of monies
in the flashy light machine.
In the flashy light box.
So he opens the door, he goes in, he sits there, he hits all the buttons. He's
not a smart criminal.
You know that scene in Willy Wonka where they're in the glass elevator?
Uh-huh.
And they hit all the buttons?
I don't remember that, but I'll take your word for it.
That is what happened to
I remember the schnozberries tasting like schnozberries.
And Violet turning violet.
Oh my God, you're Violet.
we have digressed.
You want to do a Willy Wonka podcast?
No. 1,000 times no. Also,
it'd be short. We'd be done with it in a day.
Gene Wilder is the best Wonka.
Oh yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I love Johnny Depp, but
Gene Wilder.
Yeah.
Now that we've cleared that up, he hits the buttons with the beeps and boops. He finds himself, he being Paul Johnson.
John Paul Jones. He's a pirate.
Paul Johnson, the 1960s bad fella. Did you see what I did there?
I did.
I get points for that?
No.
Oh.
Sorry. Yes, and.
Thank you. Yeah, he winds up in the noose on horseback.
Poofed into place.
Which brings about your favorite visual.
My favorite visual from this episode is, in fact, the desert. No, we get a very brief moment where we get to see John Paul Jones hanging from the noose, and as they're panning, we get to see his shoes. I'm not normally a loafer fan myself, but
they're very shiny.
They're very shiny, and the juxtaposition of his shiny ass loafers dangling from a dead tree with a desert background surrounded by cowboys
looking
made me
very puzzled.
Giggle. Like it was so nice. It was so good. Watch the episode if you. Oh hey, by the way, spoilers. Yeah, no, 100%, my favorite visual from the episode.
So the general takeaway can be safely said that people will always people, no matter when they people.
Yes, there's a good chance that no matter how you, I'm not doing that joke again.
Thank you.
The point is solid in that no matter where you are, there you are. It's people are gonna be who they are.
Yep.
And that's an interestingly straightforward takeaway.
Yeah.
because we don't always get real clean cut. Like, this is the point we're trying to make, guys.
This is cut and dry, not speculative.
Not speculative at all. It's very straightforward.
Give me your marble rating.
Marble rating. I mean, I gotta give it like at least a 1.
Oh, what?
Probably no more than a 5.
You want a refund?
No, I'm gonna give it a 3.
Okay.
It's an episode of Twilight Zone, and it's a good one. It's if I'm being perfectly honest, I enjoy the episode. However, Rod's intro and outro monologue are my favorite. Yes, monologue are my favorite parts of this episode.
For sure.
It's a good episode, but Rod is really the...
This is among the better ones. I mean, he always has really good and really poignant openers and closers for his episodes that make you think, and it's very good.
100%.
This is definitely up there, and I would agree, and one of my favorites. That notwithstanding, I'm gonna also give it a 3. This will be a 6.
Boom, bam, boom! It's getting a 6. Hey guys, that's not the rating it got in the first recording. Patreon.
So join us next week for episode 27, A Big Tall Wish.
Real quick, because this is a thing we've been doing.
IMDb, what does that say about that?
Yeah, I'm going to tell you what IMDb says. The Big Tall Wish. An aging boxer finds himself the winner of a match he thought he had lost, the result of a 6-year-old's frantic wish. But can a world-weary, embittered man still believe in miracles? Or will he turn his back on them?
Find out next week.
Have you brought anything to the episode this week?
You know, I expect you to ask that question every time, and every time
it catches you off guard.
And I become
every time.
I come to this session completely unprepared. Oh, I'm gonna plug Harrison Storm because that's the concert I went to last night in Portland. I really, really like him. He has music on Spotify, and he has acoustic videos on YouTube's. He is fantastic. He is up and coming, not really well known, but getting there. This is his first American tour, actually.
Hey.
He's from Australia.
What a time for him to choose the tour.
Right.
I am so glad he's going to go home and tell people about our country.
It's great. He has only hit like 4 places on the West Coast so far.
Opa.
So he's like we
And one of them was Portland?
Yeah, I saw him in Portland last night.
Woof.
And then he was in San Francisco today, and then he will be in Glasgow on Saturday.
So by the time this airs, he will already be the fuck out of our country.
Yeah, he did it right. Four cities ready to go.
4 cities and bounce.
But his music is great. He's Australian. Go support him. Check him out. He's great.
Fantastic. # not sponsored. I'm gonna bring. I'm gonna do a little self promotion tonight.
Sure.
This week. Try not to do that a whole lot, but I just launched another podcast, and if you're a fan of wrestling and the history of professional wrestling, I think you should check it out. It's called Turnbuckle Tales. It's everywhere you get podcasts, and by that I mean Spotify and YouTube right now. It'll be everywhere else, but that's where it's at right now. And it is essentially, I'm doing a deep dive on the history of professional wrestling, starting at the earliest days, being the carnival days, long before it was what we know now, back when it was strongman competitions that eventually evolved into the professional wrestling we see today. And yeah, it's a fun thing.
And because I am not at all involved in that one, I kind of want to listen to it and hear your take on wrestling. Because I know it's a thing you love. It's not a thing I love. So I'm really interested to hear what you do with that.
Giant dudes, tight clothes, lots of physical contact. What's not to love?
I mean, when you put it that way.
It's called Turnbuckle Tales. I'd appreciate your support. Also, if you enjoy this, give it a like or a thumbs up.
You don't even have to say anything at this point.
No, you don't have to say anything. You can comment if you want. We're in all the places where you can comment, like YouTube and Spotify. And can you comment on Apple things? I don't know.
We're Android users.
If you can, do that. But if you can give it a thumbs up, give it a like, share it with somebody, that would be greatly appreciated. We've had a bit of a fall off due to our
hiatus.
Complications with scheduling. We're back on track though, and we would appreciate any assistance we can get with getting the word back out there.
Yeah,
because we appreciate you guys.
You are why we continue to do this and why we re-record after 3 hours of recording.
It was only an hour and a half of straight ass.
And it felt like 3.5. So you're welcome for this. And if you like it, continue to support us and tell your friends.
If you like it, we'd appreciate that.
We like that.
With that said, we're about to release a record short episode here.
Woohoo.
So let's, before edit, 39 minutes and 20, 21, 22,
Okay.
23, 24, 25,
You just gonna keep
26.
counting.
At least till we hit 40 minutes. Fuck, this feels short. Thank you for listening. Come back next week. We're going to be talking about A Big Tall Wish. You do the sign off.
I do the sign off.
Yeah.
Okay.
You've always done it, so I assume you're going to do it this time as well.
Okay. I'm just going to do that.
You want to just... Okay. I'll after you.
As always, I've been Bethany.
I'm still Connor.
Thanks for wondering.
God, I hate this sign off.
Do you really? You gonna change it?
No.
You have time.
I ain't changing shit.
Except for just for recording. It's fine.
We'll see you next time.